Mbadi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was here on Thursday last week and I listened to the President carefully for 1 hour, 6 minutes. Mr. Speaker, the President sold us hope. And today I've also listened to the Majority Leader. He has sold us excuses. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to remind the two leaders that you cannot sell hope and excuses 14 months into your leadership. I want to remind them that this administration has taken 25% of the time that they were given by the people of Kenya, if at all the people of Kenya gave them, and they are remaining with only 75% of the time. And this is not the time to tell us that you have stabilized the economy when the facts and figures are pointing opposite direction. This is not the time to tell us that we are out of the hole when we know we are inside the hole and we are continuing to dig the hole even further. Mr. Speaker, where is the evidence that we have stabilized the economy? Number one, if you want to know that the economy is stabilized, you will have to check the interest rates. The interest rates, Mr. Speaker, on government premium instruments like treasury bills and bonds are in the region of 16 and 18%, signaling that our banks would definitely and certainly charge around 24%. That is not an economy that has been stabilized. Mr. Speaker, our shilling is on a free fall, we know it. And no matter how many excuses you give us about it, we deserve answers to that. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that we need to look at is inflation down. The answer is no. Actually, the only inflation that has gone down is food-led inflation. But non-food item inflation is biting this country and biting it hard. And starting with the prices of fuel products, yes, we know there are challenges in the global economy. There are challenges in the Middle East, which again you were told, Mr. Speaker, during the times of campaigns. By that time we were saying our prices of fuels have nothing to do with the problems that we are facing in Ukraine and the rest. I don't want to go that direction because we have talked about it a lot of times. But there are solutions to the price of fuel that we could use to reduce at least the price of fuel to under 200 shillings. And that is, this was not the right time to increase taxation on fuel products or petroleum products. It was done, Mr. Speaker, against the advice of all economists, leading economists in this country. Mr. Speaker, if I was the president, the first thing I would do would be to fire all my economic advisors and economic team and get fresh ones with fresh minds to advise me appropriately. The purchasing power, Mr. Speaker, of Kenyans has been eroded. And therefore you are telling Kenyans that they are better off. Where is that evidence? Ask Kenyans in the streets of Eldoret, streets of Kisumu, streets of Mombasa, streets of Nairobi. I don't know what percentage of Kenyans will tell you today that their life is better than it was a year ago. Most Kenyans will tell you that their lives are worse off. You cannot, when the economy is not doing well, you cannot increase or change taxation policy to the disadvantage of consumers. You cannot increase taxation when when people are struggling. And therefore, where we are, you have affected the purchasing power. When you affect the purchasing power by reducing people's disposable income, what is the net effect? The net effect is reduced demand for goods and services. What is therefore again the net effect of that? Low production. What is the net effect of that? Unemployment. And therefore, how are you helping the economy? Mr. Speaker, you cannot claim that you are fighting corruption when your own senior officers are using government resources to hire 8 choppers to a single fundraiser in the village. You are asking all your ministers, cabinet secretaries, on a day, Monday, you buy seedlings for 10,000 and you hire a chopper for 1 million to go and plant the trees. What kind of austerity measure is that? Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that Kenya is in a drip. If at all we were talking of Kenya being in ICU before the last election, it is now in a drip and we are just surviving by the grace of God. We are praying that somehow some miracle happens that Kenya survives. At this rate, with this administration.
Thank you, the Honorable Speaker, for this chance. I was also here on Thursday to listen to the President on behalf of the people of Mwaya. And Honorable Speaker, I listened with my third ear. And one thing, as a student of Eastern government and also a student of Ruto Vandaba on speech, I was happy that the President was very confident, and he actually gave hope to the Kenyans. He was also very clear in his mind to say what was truthful, what could be done, and what could not be done. And that's what this country possibly needs, because we cannot afford to live a lie. And that is the general outlook of what I saw in the speech. And what the Kenyans really need now is hope, because he was able to explain where we were, where we are headed to, and where we intend to go to. Honorable Speaker, there are three remarkable things I will highlight which were spoken on. Number one, the President was able to speak on the issue of education. And on education, he explained an array of reforms that he has brought to bear to try and improve the education system. And I must begin by thanking the President, because I've been in the education system for a long time, Honorable Speaker. And I know that employment of teachers has been and is still one of the biggest challenges that we do face. And that even in previously would only employ 5,000 teachers every year, and in 5 years would employ about 25,000. But it's remarkable to actually indicate that within his reign, in 1 year's time, he has been able to employ 55,000 teachers. And that's actually remarkable. I know they are not enough, but I must begin by congratulating him for that, because I've been around and I know what happens. He forgot to indicate that also in terms of promotions, we have been having a lot of stagnation of the teachers. And I will be asking this Parliament, when the supplementary budget comes, to actually vie money for promotion of teachers. But he forgot to say that within the period in which he has operated, we have had a promotion of 14,000 teachers in the first phase, 6,000 teachers, and now 36,000 teachers who have been advertised. I would be glad to actually indicate and report to the President that of the 55,000 teachers who employed, and we thank him for that, most of them were interns. And now they are the ones who are in the JSS, and they are now looking forward to becoming PNP, permanent and pensionable. Honorable Speaker, I was in Bomet over the weekend, and most of them are crying out that after the 1-year internship program, they should be confirmed as PNP. I'll be asking this House to support the President by actually vying money to make all those intern teachers who are in our JSS and other parts of the schools to become PNP. Honorable Speaker, the next thing I want to speak on, which came out very clearly in the President's address, was the issue of the economy. And here he was very, very firm and clear. And the issue of cost of living as an agenda in the bipartisan talks needs to be given more time, the way the mover of this motion did indicate. And it needs to have everybody look in each other's eye. I was very proud when I heard the leader of majority use that phrase, because back at home, that's my slogan. And in my language, it's called Menga Moni, look in my eyes. Because unless we deal with that very seriously, then we can easily lie to ourselves. That he was very clear to indicate that the borrowing had reached its maximum, and it was not possible for us to borrow anymore. And you are aware as a House that even we had been downgraded in terms of our ability to borrow in the grading system of borrowing around the world. And now it's very important that we tighten our belts and actually live within our means. And if we continue with the borrowing, we shall actually collapse. He was also very bold to indicate that for the first time now, we want to face the challenge that we have always feared for the longest time, and that is the Eurobond. That we want to tackle it so that it may give confidence to the international markets to actually invest in us, because most of what the countries are doing is to default. And the repercussions of defaulting are usually very severe, and they don't last 1 month, neither 1 year. They last an array of years, because you lose the confidence in your currency, and it's usually very terrible. So in the interest of time, I think I'll have to stop there. I'm unable to speak on agriculture, which I think is the most important thing, because productivity must be encouraged and not consumption. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Zamzam Chimba. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi nikiweza kuchangia katika hotuba aliyotoa Rais hivi karibuni. Mheshimiwa Spika, najua hali ziko ngumu sana katika taifa letu, lakini ningependa kumwelezea Mheshimiwa Rais kuwa wale wanaokushauri wawe wako na uwazi na wewe. Si vizuri hapa tukiona wabunge wanampigia upatu wakati ambapo wanajua kuna matatizo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kiongozi mzuri ni yule anapenda kuambiwa hapa kuna shida, hapa uko sawa. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona Rais kweli anajaribu kujibidisha, ila kuna masala ambayo hakuweza kuzungumzia, kwa sababu kiongozi mwema huzungumza yale matatizo alionayo na yale mazuri aliyofanya. Hatukuweza kuona hilo katika hotuba ya Rais. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, hotuba ya Rais pia haikuweza kushika hali tata, yani hisia za wananchi zilivyo katika taifa hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, wananchi wanahangaika na njaa, taksi ziko juu, ushuru unapanda kila kukicha. Tumeona zingine katika vitambulisho, tumeona chakula kimepanda juu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hiyo wananchi walikuwa wanasubiri kusikia atashika masala gani yanayogusa mwananchi wa kawaida wa kule chini. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, nikizingatia kuwa mafuta ama fuel pia imepanda juu, na ukiangalia stima pia imekuwa katika hali tata katika nyumba za Wakenya wengi. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Rais pia aliweza kukwepa swala hili kulizungumzia, na mimi nataka kumwelezea kuwa Rais ndio unajaribu, lakini nafikiri unawashauri ambao hawakushauri vizuri. Mheshimiwa Spika, inakuwa aibu kwa kiongozi wa taifa kuweza kutangaza kuwa sasa mvua El Nino haitokuwepo, kisha siweze kuwa na mipango ya kukabili El Nino, alafu sasa tuanze kuona mvua inanyesha. Hii sio kuwa ni hoja ya Rais mwenyewe, aliweza kuwa advice kuwa hii haitokuwa. Na ndio maana nasema huenda yeye ana nia nzuri na Wakenya, lakini wale waliomzingira wanaompa advice hawamuelezee vizuri. Na ndio maana mimi nataka nielezee wabunge wenzangu, msiwe watu wa kupiga ngoma tu, mpiga ngoma mkicheza hamjui muziki waenda vipi. Ni lazima hapa, hili ni bunge la uwazi, kuelezana ukweli. Tuweze kumwambia Rais hapa umefanya, hapa kumepunguka, hapa jibidishe. Huo ndio mjadala ambao unafaa unaendelea katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tukiwa watu wa kusema kuwa tukupongeza wakati ambapo kule nje mambo si sawa, hata yeye mwenyewe anapokaa anajua kweli hawa wabunge wangu hawanipendi. Msifikiri kuwa Rais hana akili, ana akili zake na anajua na anaangalia. Anatamani hata siku moja mbunge ambaye yuko upande wake aweze kumwelezea ukweli kuwa Mheshimiwa Rais, hapa airport kuna shida iko hivi. Mheshimiwa Rais, wananchi wanalia, mafuta yanapanda, hawana chakula. Tunaweza tukafanya namna gani? Na kiongozi mzuri ni yule ambaye kama hali ziko hali mbaya katika taifa, Mheshimiwa Spika, anaangalia, asifanye mambo 1000 kwa wakati mmoja. Achague jambo moja ambalo linaweza kugusa mwananchi likainua uchumi, aweze kufocus na jambo moja, aweze kulitenda kwa ubora zaidi, kisha mengine yatafuatia polepole. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, ukimwangalia Rais amezingirwa barabara, amezingirwa miundo msingi, amezingirwa agriculture, sijui ataka kufanya mambo 50 kwa wakati mmoja, wakati ambapo uchumi hauko sawa. Na ndio maana mimi kama mama Mombasa sio kuwa nachukia, hapana, nampenda tena sana, lakini nitakuwa mwazi kwake kusema kuwa hali si sawa kule mashinani, na wala asiwasikize hawa wabunge wanaompigia kengele na ngoma. Asikize huku sisi tunamwelezea mambo halisi yaliyoko kwenye kule mazingara ya wananchi kule chini. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi mpaka wakati huu tumekubali huyu ndio Rais, na sisi tunataka kusonga mbele kama Wakenya kwa sauti moja. Na vile tumekubali, tunasema asidanganywe hapa na hawa wabunge kumpigia ngoma, ni kuzuri, tunakusifu, hapana. Kama mama Mombasa, mimi nakwambia Rais, hata hawa walimu 59,000 ambao umeajiri, nataka kukwambia ukweli kuwa Mombasa County tulipata walimu 6 peke yake kwa walimu 56,000. Katika hizi za wifi 25,000, mimi nataka kumwelezea Rais, Mombasa imekuja 2 peke yake. Kwa hiyo kama anapenda ugatuzi kama alivyosema, pengine wale wanaomshauri hawamwambii vizuri, na mimi kama mama Mombasa County napenda kumwambia kuwa ajibidishe, akazane, lakini asidanganye na hao waheshimiwa wengine. Asante sana.
Mama, what is your point of order, KJ? Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa utueleze kama mjumbe huyu wa Mombasa amekiuka kanuni za kudumu hapa bungeni kwa kuweza kuwapotosha wabunge kueleza kwamba kunavyo vituo ambavyo vimebuniwa vya kidijitali, akijua vema kwamba wewe mwenyewe uliweza kutuita mkutano hapa wa Kamkunji na tukaweza kujadili masuala haya ya vituo hivi, kwamba ni majukumu ya wajumbe kuweza kushirikiana pamoja na serikali kuu kubuni hivi vituo ambavyo ni vituo vya kidijitali. Na pia walimu hawa ambao walikuwa wanaajiriwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, nadhani kwamba huyu mjumbe anatupotosha kutuambia kwamba kutokana na wale walimu 56,000 ambao waliajiriwa, ati kwamba ni 6 peke yake ambao wameajiriwa katika kaunti zima ya Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, je, huyu mjumbe anatupotosha, na je, amekiuka hizi kanuni zetu za kudumu?
Hayo maoni na namba ni zake. And in future, Mama Zamzam, when your colleague is on his feet on a point of order, you take your seat. Maliza on 30 seconds.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nataka nimwelezee mbunge mwenzangu kuwa mimi ndio mama Mombasa na nachunguza na angalia. Na hapa tulikuwa na yule waziri kweli. Lakini wewe unajua kama aliweza kuzindua sehemu 2 ya kuweza kuweka wifi? Ikiwa unaweza kupinga hapa, mimi nakwambia usilolijua na usikuagiza, angalia ya kwako ni angalia kwangu. Kule kwetu walimu walikuwa ni wachache sana kuzingatia na namba ambazo zimetolewa 56,000. Kwa hiyo tuweze kuheshimiana, zungumza Dagoreti sijui ni wapi, mimi niachie Mombasa. Napenda rais na namuombea Mungu aweze kukazana, afanye kazi kwa bidii lakini asisikize.
Thank you Mama Mombasa. Geoffrey Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is important, Mr. Speaker, I feel that I was not in the House, but I followed the address online from the time the President came in to the last sentence. And Mr. Speaker, I like to support all the sentiment and raised by the head of state and the head of government, and to congratulate him for a very job well done for the past 1 year. Mr. President, in his speech, in his national address, he put it clearly that, Mr. Speaker, the appointment of judges, which the 6 judges came in handy to support the judiciary, to support the judicial the justice administration system of our country. And not only that, Mr. Speaker, the allocation of 3 billion Kenya shilling to judiciary, that is indeed a clear indication that the President supports the justice administration system of this country, which has not been faring very well for a number of years. Mr. Speaker, he also highlighted in his speech address that the Inspector General, setting Inspector General as accounting officer to ensure that the National Police Service is well managed, and at the same time appointing Justice David Maraga to a task force, to lead a task force, Mr. Speaker, to review the terms and conditions of our women and men in uniform. We have been having challenges in this country as far as the police, National Police Service is concerned, and to ensure the people of Kenya enjoy security, protection of life and property. This is something which the President did the very first days in his office, in office as head of state and head of government. Mr. Speaker, in agricultural production and livestock value chain addition, so that the cost of living can come down. A lot of investment which has been done by the government, led by the President, at the moment is yielding fruit. We have seen the fertilizers coming from 7,000 to 2,500 per bag, Mr. Speaker. And we are witnessing huge harvest in different parts of this country at the moment. the reduction of wasteful expenditure to ensure that the government is is controlling the expenditure. You remember in a speech and what the president has done to ensure no government officer can spend more than 7 days outside this country, and any unnecessary expenditure in our offices, in public service offices, has been cut down, Mr. Speaker. An exemplary performance which has been shown by ASRA's fund with the disbursement of huge amount of money to a tune of that 6.6 billion, Mr. Speaker, and a saving of 2.3 billion, Mr. Speaker. All this is achievement within 1 year, and it has been done by the visionary end of state. Mr. Speaker, we witnessed the employment of almost 60,000 teachers and 8,000 primary school teachers for the junior secondary schools. This has been done by a committed president, and in his speech he clearly outlined that, and it is known to each and every person within the Republic of Kenya. This is something which has never been done in the past, and it can only be done through commitment, passion, and diligence in service to the people. Mr. Speaker, the passing of a universal health bill, as well as primary health act, Mr. Speaker, and the Facility Improvement Financing Act, which the government, led by His Excellency the President, has championed to ensure there is enhancement of health care.
Your time is up. James Nyikal. So that you don't appear to be unfairly truncated when you are contributing, you look at the clerk, there's the amber light that warns you. When the amber comes on, you have 1 minute. When the red comes on, you are switched off. James Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to comment on the President's speech, which is in line with the constitutional requirement, Article 132, to indicate the measures and taken and the progress made in achieving the principles that guide us from Article 10. Mr. Speaker, my summary of this really is, once again, we are the list of policies, promises that are to be done. And let me say, a fair amount of report on process indicators, which means what needs to be done and where we have reached, but actually it did bring us to what has actually done. In my view, at these times, what you expect, Mr. Speaker, we expect results that affect our daily lives, not good plans, not processes that have been put in place. For example, Mr. Speaker, we will not tire of talking of the cost of living. We keep saying that actually we cannot go into subsidy, but if you have a crisis in your hands, you first of all deal with the crisis before you go for long-term measures. We keep saying, for example, that the cost of fuel cannot be touched because it is a consumption subsidy. I'll never be convinced, Mr. Speaker, nobody can, that a subsidy in cost of fuel is consumption. There is no single mover of economy like fuel. So in my view, subsidy on fuel may be a better production subsidy than even fertilizer, which we all agree is actually a production subsidy. And when we say the cost of fuel is probably a problem that arising from other events in the world, why are there differences within the region? As Mr. Speaker, the cost of fuel has about 5 levies and a heavy VAT tax on it. Those are things that we can handle. So I was expecting that at least that one we will take care of. Mr. Speaker, when we talk of in the area of education, we had good indications, primary education, funding primary, university educations, but up to now really, we are just starting to see the fees being paid, and there are still a lot of students who are in universities and their fees have yet to be paid. When we talk of universal health coverage, we have changed laws. Changing laws is not the same as actually getting results, and I'm worried, Mr. Speaker, even the laws we have changed have opened ourselves to a lot of activity from the private sector. We literally may hand over the processes to the private sector. I'm not so sure we'll get much there. Mr. Speaker, when we are talking of even social protection, we have changed the structure. A member mentioned NSSF. I don't know whether we are aware here that in our new arrangement, there are actually 2 tiers of NSSF payment which are being made by employees, where tier 1, which is a small proportion, actually is what NSSF is going to manage, while tier 2, which is a bigger proportion, is actually going to the private sector. So, Mr. Speaker, I remain worried, because we are talking more processes, more policies, but we are not getting to the point of saying this is what we have achieved is affecting your life today. We talk of 11 landing beaches that have actually, in Kisumu County alone, there are 35 landing beaches. What is 11 for the whole country? That is a drop in the ocean. When we are talking about the justice system, what we are saying is we have employed judges. You can employ people, you can put money, but if the governance structures are not working, you still will not get results. So what we are looking for is results. When we are talking of security, we talk of funding the police. I think those are good things, but we must move away from thinking that policies, funding will eventually turn into actual delivery of what people need if we do not pay attention to the issues of governance that will move these things to allocating money.
Your time is up. Honorable Ruku, I gave you a chance to speak. You finished and logged in again. That is not right. You are still stuck at the top of the screen. Then there is something wrong, clerk. The next goes to member for, it's called Moham, member for Nyali, is it? Yes.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningelipenda kuzungumzia hotuba ya rais. Yale ambayo alisema yalikuwa mambo ya wazi na aligonga ndipo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninaposikiza waheshimiwa wenzangu wakizungumza jinsi hali ya maisha ilivyo, ninashangaa sana kwa sababu hawa wanaotuzungumza na kutuzungumzia na kutueleza haya mambo ni wale ambao walitutia katika shimo la matatizo katika taifa hili. Hawa ndio walioweza katika uongozi wao, waliweza kupora mali ya wananchi na kupelekwa katika mataifa ya nje, waliweza kutumia pesa ya wananchi vibaya na kufanya kampeni zisizo na kichwa wala mguu za BBI, na leo hawa ndio wanakaa mbele yetu na kutuambia vile ambavyo taifa hili litaendeshwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, deni ya Kenya haiwezi lipwa na mtu mwingine. Deni ya Kenya italipwa na sisi wa Kenya. Kenya ni nchi huru, nchi ambayo inajifaa kujitegemea na kuzalisha mapato yake, ajira na mambo mengine mengi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho rais wa jamhuri amefanya ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba minyororo, mitego iliyokuwa ikiwekwa hapo awali ya sisi kila mara kuomba na kutegemea mataifa ya nje yameisha. Na wakati ambapo unataka kulipa haya madeni, ni lazima utafute njia mbadala ya kulipa haya madeni. Na njia ni sisi wenyewe tuweze kujikomboa. Nimesikia mheshimiwa mmoja akisema ya kwamba ati rais anatoa ahadi mingi sana. Achague jambo moja, amalize moja. Hata wewe mheshimiwa kwako nyumbani huli sima kila siku. Leo ni sima, kesho ni chapati, kesho ni pilau. Kwa hivyo muacheni rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya azunguke, aende, atafute. Nyinyi hata wa leo mnapiga kelele kwa sababu ya upanzi wa miti. Tusipopanda miti muko na maneno, tukipanda mnaanza kusema watu wameenda kupanda, jambo ambalo ni jambo la Mheshimiwa Spika.
Member for hold Moha's time. Yes, Fatuma, what's the problem?
Mheshimiwa Speaker, I would like to, honorable member, to explain to us who exactly is he talking to, because he keeps on pointing at the three of us and saying hawa ndio walichukua deni, hawa wanapiga kelele mtu ukipandwa. Tungeomba utuambie kamili unamzungumzia nani, na kama una habari mimi huu ni mwaka wangu wa kwanza kwa kwenye bunge hili, sina deni la mtu.
Order, Fatuma, you are out of order. There are people like Italians who speak figuratively with their hands. The fact that you are in the direction that he's facing doesn't mean he's talking about you. Go on, Mohammed.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nadhani wakiambia ukweli wanatafuta vijisababu visivyo na kichwa wala mguu. Nikisema hawa ni nyinyi ambao mlikuwa katika serikali iliyokuwa hapo awali, nyinyi ambao mlienda mkadanganya wananchi na kuwaambia mambo ya porojo ilhali mlikuwa mkipora mali yao. Kwanza nyinyi mnafaa mrudi kwa wananchi, muwaombe msamaha, museme nyinyi ndio mmefanya makosa kwa kuweza kupora na kufuja mali ya Wakenya na kutuletea haya matatizo. Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa walikuja na kifua wakisema ya kwamba tutafanya mambo mengine kwa lazima, na leo mnakaa mbele yetu bila aibu, mnataka kutuambia vile ambavyo taifa hili litaendezwa. Hata hayati Emilio Mwai Kibaki alichukua miaka 2 kujenga nchi. Wewe pia kama mbunge ulipochaguliwa huwezi fanya miujiza na kipindi cha miaka 1. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, yale ambayo rais alizungumzia yalikuwa ukweli bayana. Alizungumzia masuala ya elimu, akazungumzia masuala ya ukulima, akazungumzia pia masuala ya deni ya Eurobond. Na dawa ya deni ni kulipa, na usidanganywe na mtu yoyote. Sisi wa Kenya ndio tutalipa hiyo deni, sisi wa Kenya ndio tutasukuma hii gari mpaka tufike mahala ambapo patakuwa sawa kwa kila Mkenya. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Member for Kapchai.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to speak on the speech of the President. So, Speaker, when I listened carefully the speech of the President, the Speaker, so Speaker, the President is an economic tailor. He's an economic tailor, Mr. Speaker. When you take your cloth to your tailor, Mr. Speaker, and he takes your measurement and tells you come after 2 weeks to pick your suit, Mr. Speaker. Don't sit around and see how he tears and takes the scissors to cut the clothes, Mr. Speaker. You might be worried. This President, Mr. Speaker, as an economic tailor, he has cut in the structures of this government. It's important, Mr. Speaker, to know, and to know very well, that the President, Mr. Speaker, brought in the subsidy of fertilizer. Fertilizer, Mr. Speaker, brought about the issue of food in this country. As we talk today, Mr. Speaker, most farms, we are doing the second season of the crop. Under 2,500 fertilizer of 50 kilos. Mr. Speaker, it has been made down now. Even this fertilizer has been moved from cereal headquarters, Mr. Speaker, to the sub-count levels to give farmers a chance, Mr. Speaker. We're only asking them, Mr. Speaker, that they increase the number so that most farmers get to ease. When we get a lot of food, Mr. Speaker. And I was wondering, Mr. Speaker, when I heard Honorable Mbadi, he said that he's not seeing the signs of development in this country. Mr. Speaker, when we harvest well and we have enough food, like in his constituents, Mr. Speaker, Sufurias are now busy. You cannot, if Sufurias are busy, Mr. Speaker, they have a lot of food. You can't find them on your head. And that is the reason why you are saying, Mr. Speaker, we start with the food. It's not a fact, Mr. Speaker. It depends also with the school you went through. We have something called the Kepner and Toka principle of assessing the degree of danger. And then you start from where? In your house, Mr. Speaker. If today a dog comes to bite your leg, and 2, your vehicle starts rolling downwards because you left it on a free gear. And at the same time, your house catches fire. And inside your house is a child who is sleeping. It's upon you, Mr. Speaker, to start making the difference. It's you to make a decision. What do you start with? That's called the Kepner and Toker principle of the degree of danger. You will first start with the house that is burning. Take out the child as the dog bites your leg because you can go to see the doctor. Mr. Speaker, the president has chosen on what to start with, and the first is food. If we stabilize the food factor, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, this country is getting somewhere. Two, Madam Speaker, infrastructure to the sensitive areas of this country. We need better roads, Mr. Speaker, to go inside to get where food is produced, agro-based zones, where we can get fresh milk from the farms straight and quickly, 2 hours, packed to static time, to reach the centers and cooling centers. That's what we need, Mr. Speaker, in this country. We need roads that can feed in to get some of these perishable foods from inner parts of this country to come to the markets. That is what the president is focusing on. Mr. Speaker, I want also to say something, that the national dialogue, that due to the magnanimity of the president, due to his magnanimity, Madam Speaker, he chose that we come together and talk. We expect fruits from this dialogue. We also want to know, Mr. Speaker, that we are not doing things at futility. When it will come to this house, Madam Speaker, let us work on it and see how better we can make of it. Madam Speaker, I cannot finish if I cannot mention that the president and the first lady are a praying family. A praying family, it makes a praying nation. And we pray together, Mr. Speaker, and we work hard. Madam Speaker, this Kenya is getting somewhere. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, the Honorable Member for Kilifi South, Honorable Ken Chonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I stand to express the feelings and the wishes of many Kenyans as far as this speech is concerned. And Madam Speaker, let me take a cue from Honorable Zamzam when she said that when we debate some of these speeches, we need to understand that we are here for the interest of the Kenyans. And honestly, the way we present our debates will impress on Kenyans on what they feel about it. When we stand in front of this chamber and we debate out of our thorax and mouth the way Honorable Muhammad Ali was doing, honestly, it creates no value. We come here to debate issues. We are not here at war. Madam Speaker, let me say that the speech of the president, to many, it was a very, very big disappointment. It was a disappointment because let us first of all take cue of when, during the time when we were campaigning, the promises that the Mwananchi was promised by this government. It was the expectation of every mamamboga, every boda, every hustler, that life was going to be better than the way it is today. And if there's anything that Mwananchi expected, that is what he wanted to read and understand from the speech of the president. Madam Speaker, let me tell you where the rain started beating us. The rain started beating us by passing out a punitive finance bill in this parliament. We talked about it, we discussed it, we could see the weaknesses of some of the elements that were in that bill, but there was nobody to hear because the numbers were less. The finance bill is the biggest cause of the cost of living today. Madam Speaker, the other day on the 8th of November, members of parliament from the government side were at State House. And they expressed openly that they have become less popular because of the cost of living. This is something is in parliament domain. And I think the president, what he said was, you do not need to be popular. Indeed, if they feel they're unpopular and they feeling what the Mwananchi is feeling on the ground. Madam Speaker, I was keenly listening to the leader of majority here and his deputy. And the kind of lies that they were making to Kenyans. One of the causes why the cost of living is not going to go up any soon is the cost of fuel in this country. Madam Speaker, you and me know very well that Kenya went into an arrangement of government to government with the government of Saudi Arabia. Look at the players in this arrangement, first of all. If there is nothing that I can call a scam, this is the biggest scam, Madam Speaker. They are telling us that the cost of fuel is going up because of the war in Ukraine and the Hamas. How come the cost of fuel is going down in Tanzania, in Rwanda, in Uganda? What explanation can the president make out of that? It is in public domain that the companies who were given the tender to be bringing fuel tied their hands in such a manner that when the cost of fuel is going down, they cannot negotiate these terms. And you know very well, for as long as the cost of fuel will remain high, everything in Kenya will remain high. Madam Speaker.
What's your point of order, Honorable KJ?
Madam Speaker, as emotive and as misinformed as the Honorable Chonga might be, is it in order for him to say that we are speaking lies here or the president is speaking lies? To the best of my knowledge, Madam Speaker, this is very unparliamentary language that goes against even our standing orders, Madam Speaker. So I think it is in order that the honorable member withdraws that statement on the issue of lies. It is unparliamentary language. He needs to withdraw and apologize, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Chonga, if you make a allegation.
Madam Speaker, if you heard me very well, there is nothing that I called a lie. Maybe I should use a different language for KJ to understand what I'm talking about.
What did you say exactly?
What I'm saying, Madam Speaker, is as the government or as the leader of majority has just put it here, that the cost of fuel in Kenya is going up just because there is war between Israel and Hamas. Why couldn't he go a step further and explain to the parliament why the cost of fuel in Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda is going down? Simple. And if you did not understand it, for the
Honorable Chonga, it is not your place to decide what a member says. You say your view and let the member say their view.
Thank you. I stand guided, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know my time is up. But I just want to make this submission, and if you'll allow me, because KJ has taken almost 1 minute of mine, I want us to come to the realization that the mwananchi is actually suffering. As much as we are fixing the agriculture sector and many other sectors, we need to know how the cost of living can come down. And if we play around with this matter, I refer back to what Pastor Mackenzie said, Kitawaramba. This government is in place because of the people who put this government in place where it is. It is the same people who are complaining about how life has become so unbearable.
Conclude, Honorable Member. Give you an extra minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So conclude.
I'm concluding. Madam Speaker, with that realization that we are where we are because of the promises that we gave to the mwananchi, be you on the opposition or on the government side, the feeling of the people on the ground is the same. Langu mimi Kiswahili nataka kusema, tusingoje kiwarambe. If we insist that everything is correct and yet everything is going wrong, then kuramba tutarambwa. Asante, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Narok West, Honorable Gabriel Tongoy. What is your point of order, Leader of Majority?
Honorable Speaker, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I came running from the office. So if I pant, Honorable Speaker, it's because I came running. You know, I'm a stickler to the rules and procedures of the House. And I was listening as Honorable Ken Chonga made his contribution and challenged on a point of order by the Honorable KJ. He asserted that he had not used the term lies. Honorable Speaker, we must be a house that adheres to our own rules and procedures, because Honorable Ken Chonga asserted that the kind of lies being said to us by the leader of majority and his deputy. And Honorable Speaker, there is something called statement of fact. Honorable Ken Chonga has been in this house long enough to know our rules. Therefore, he cannot, on the basis of a point of order raised by Honorable KJ, assert that he did not use the term lies. He actually stated that the kind of lies being told to us, and you know, we are not speaking to Ken Chonga, we are speaking to the country, and we are not telling lies. That language is unparliamentary. We must not allow the Honorable Ken Chonga to get away with it, because we are degrading the dignity of this house by allowing members to utter careless statements without substantiating, without giving facts. Give us a statement of fact. What is it that the leader of majority said or his deputy said that was untrue? Honorable members do not tell lies. The honorable member for Kilifi North cannot be telling lies.
You had
He's
your
an honorable member of parliament.
Chonga, let him finish prosecuting.
Honorable Speaker, I want to ask Honorable Speaker if the Honorable Ken Chonga will not apologize and withdraw that term, Honorable Speaker. I would want to move, Honorable Speaker, on standing order number 107, 108, that I ask you, if the Honorable Ken Chonga does not apologize and withdraw, that you find it to be grossly disorderly, and I shall be moving to name him, Honorable Speaker, because we must restore the dignity of this House, Honorable Speaker. As I contributed, I asked all of us to be patriotic enough and to be leaders. There are things you can say in funerals, there are things you can say in rallies, but you cannot say in such an honorable House, Honorable Speaker. And I know it is exciting for those who are who are politicians and not leaders to want to say things that will excite the masses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you can also protect me from the member for Busia, and I keep teaching our Honorable Speaker, allow me to keep guiding the Honorable member for Busia. When you find what I'm saying is unpalatable, you went to school to be able to stand in your position, articulate your issues. Don't shout from your seat. You can shout from markets in Busia, but not in this House. Honorable Speaker, this House, we articulate, we debate. It is a debating chamber, not a shouting chamber. I know it's common to shout in some places in Busia, but not in this House. Honorable Speaker, I would beg that you do require Honorable Chonga to withdraw and apologize. Failure to which, Honorable Speaker, we shall be moving to name him.
Honorable Chonga, I have just been able to substantiate from the confirm from the clerk that you did in fact say that the kind of lies by the leader of majority and the deputy, and went on to allege I've checked that with them. So I'll just bring to your attention standing order number 91, responsibility for statement of fact. The member shall be responsible for the accuracy of any facts which they are alleged to be true and may be required to substantiate. Again, when you are informed that you had made those remarks, you said that it was not in fact true. And now it's been confirmed by the Hansard that it was. And then, and if you do not convince me, then I will move to standing order number 107 and finding you liable for disorderly conduct. I'll give you a minute to respond to that.
Madam Speaker, I regret to say that I think I was not understood well. The statement that was made by the leader of majority and his deputy is that by virtue of the war in Israel and the Hamas, the prices...
I was giving you an opportunity either to apologize, withdraw the remarks, then you can proceed. But you're making it worse by restating again. Are you disputing what is on the Hansard? Yes or no, Honorable Chonga?
I cannot dispute what is on the Hansard. But I'll stand by my word.
Well, Chonga, then we will let you sit down. You can leave the house and confirm and then come back.
Okay, Madam Speaker.
And then we can decide your fate in another 10 minutes when you have confirmed. Proceed. No, you are disorderly. Honorable Chonga, I have not given you the mic. Hold on. Honorable Chonga, would you like, Honorable Chonga. Honorable Chonga. Honorable Chonga, you did not have the mic and you have proceeded to speak. Then you will just be held that you keep away from the house for the next 2 sittings. Let us proceed. The Honorable
I think it was
member for Nakuru. It was the Honorable member for Narok West. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank you for giving me
He has
this
not begun, then you
opportunity
can make your point of order. Let him make.
to contribute to the President's speech. Madam Speaker, I was in this House when the President was addressing to the nation, and in fact seated where I'm seated today. And I had the opportunity of not just be listening to him, but even looking and reading his body language. And I was so convinced that the President really was aspiring hope to Kenyans. And the President really gave a history and a journey that Kenya has walked since he took over in less than a year, in almost a year ago. Madam Speaker, he managed to address several issues so important to Kenyans, ranging from matters economy and the trajectory of Kenyan's economy, of course, my issues of food security, matters to do with the security, the housing, UHC, and many others. And I want to mention a few, and of course, starting on matters national security. And the President started by outlining what he committed to Kenyans, and that giving the national police the financial autonomy to enable them to execute their mandate in serving Kenyans and ensuring that Kenya is safe. And the President lived true to his promise to Kenyans that in Presidential Executive number 1, the President gave the police the financial autonomy, and I can confirm that as the chair of that committee, Madam Speaker. It is true that Kenya, we have been having security challenges ranging from cattle rustling, the terrorism, especially the issue of boundary in North Rift and Northeastern and actually some part of the country. And our very disciplined and committed and very competent security forces has continuously been executing their mandate to ensure that Kenya is safe. And it's just good to mention, Madam Speaker, that in the endeavor to make sure that our police officers and our security forces are well equipped to execute their mandate, the modernization program that the President has been promising to Kenyans is on course to ensure that our security forces are well equipped to address the security challenges. We can all confirm, Madam Speaker, that the issue of cattle rustling and boundary in North Rift has really significantly reduced, and even members in this House from that region can confirm the same. Of course, we have still a few challenges. They are not there, but we are really up to the task. You also mentioned about the issue of NYS, that we are going to double the intake and ensure that the 80% of the NYS are going to be taken during the future recruitment into our security forces, being the police or the KDF. Madam Speaker, on the issue of international obligation, we are on the right track as a country. It is true, we are proud to be Kenyans. Kenya has been known and they have really cemented their position in the global arena, especially in matters peace. We are currently participating in several countries, helping those countries stabilizing the peace. And even it is in this that I don't want to preempt, but we know, of course, the issue of anticipated deployment of our forces to Haiti to help that country to maintain their peace. Madam Speaker, on the issue of food security, the President was able to really put it in clear terms what the country, what the Kenya Kwanza has managed to do, starting from subsidy on fertilizers, which has enabled the produce, the food, which has really enabled, Madam Speaker, the harvest to double in less than a year. It was talked about issues to do with the provision, reducing the post-harvest by provision of the dryers. And I'm proud they talked about the first consignment is just on, it will be in the country in a short, maybe in a week or two. Madam Speaker, on the issues of UHC, we know that this House passed a bill to include the issue of Health Facility Improvement Fund, which will be able to ring-fence the funds that generally generated by health facilities to enable them, make sure that the funds are used to improve the facilities, and of course continue to make sure that our health facilities give the services, needed much services to Kenyans. And it is going to be a game changer, Madam Speaker. We know in communities where we come from, what really has continuously affected communities, at times even causing them to lose, even sell their property to include land, is the very high bills from the hospitals because of lack of cover, insurance cover. It's going to be a thing of the past once this program is rolled. And it is a big achievement, and it is a commitment and a promise that the President has really lived up to. Madam Speaker, on the issue of housing, and of course here seated right on my right hand is the chair, we have really made a progress, a very big progress on the same. There are a lot of housing units coming all over the country, and I'm sure it is in a due course, Kenyans are going to live in dignified manner. Madam Speaker, the other issue that I want really to talk about is the issue of the economy. And more importantly, the issue of the Eurobond, a debt that has continuously been a concern to Kenyans. It's true, as been reported by a majority and members who have spoken ahead of us, we were in a hole. When the Kenya Kwanza government took over, we know the kind of burden, the kind of debts that are really on our shoulders. And we're so proud because the President had committed and promised the country that we are going to live to the obligation, and we are going to be able to be in a position to clear the debt, the 300 billion that is going to be due in due course. And it's something that, of course, it has been a concern to the country. And of course, we know the challenges that are there, including, of course, the issue of the fluctuation of the shilling against the dollar, the major currencies. We know, of course, the issue members have been talking about, the cost of living, the issue of the cost of petroleum product. But, Madam Speaker, it's good to note, and members should be very honest, it's an issue that is beyond Kenya as a country. It's a global challenge, it's a global problem. But the President is doing his best, the Kenya Kwanza government is doing their best to cushion Kenyans. Subsidy is never, Madam Speaker, a solution to it. And I think the President made it very clear. The right thing to do is to do subsidy to the production, not consumption. And that is exactly what they're doing. Where the government to government, Madam Speaker, is a mechanism and a means of trying to lower the cost of petroleum product. And if the President did not take the intervention, I'm sure we could be talking of a different story now. Madam Speaker, of importance, also the President talked about our continuous role to honor our international obligation as a country, and he went further to illustrate the several international security missions that Kenya forces are undertaking currently and even in the past. And it's something we are proud as Kenyan to, Madam Speaker, to mention that as a country, we are continuously making Kenya proud. So, Madam Speaker, to me, I think the President was able really to, not really mincing his own word. He shared a picture of a promising future. He managed to share a picture of a right trajectory, a country which is on the right path to prosperity. The challenges are going to be there, but we will surmount, Madam Speaker. We have the right captain steering the ship, and we are going in the right direction, Madam Speaker. So I want to say that the President managed really to talk on matters that affected Kenya, on the issue, of course, of the Asla Fund. He really mentioned, we were so surprised that he had the connection to even the Asla in the village. There down, the tuk-tuk rider, who talked in their own words on how the Asla Fund had managed to transform their lives. So, Madam Speaker, we have a president, we have a captain, and we are proud to be Kenyan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And before I call the next, the Honorable Esther Passaris, member for Nairobi County, someone just asked, what did Honorable Ken Chonga do? For the avoidance of doubt, I asked him to leave under Standing Order 107A, which states that a member commits an act of gross disorderly conduct if the member defies a ruling or direction of the Speaker, declines to explain or retract use of unparliamentary words, and declines to offer apology despite being ordered to do so. And you saw that I severally requested Honorable Chonga to do so, and then demonstrates or makes disruptive utterances against, despite being asked not to do so. And you saw that even without the mic, he continued. So it's on that basis, because the standing order is quite clear, that the Speaker may call upon the member whose conduct is grossly disorderly to withdraw immediately from the presence of the Assembly for a minimum of 5 days and a maximum of 28 days. So he has to keep away from the presence of Parliament for 2 days. 5 days. Just wait. Just trying to quote that. I said 2 days. Just wait. Minimum of 5 days. Yes. Actually, it's a minimum of 5 days. So unfortunately, he has a minimum of 5 days. Let us proceed. The Honorable Member for Nairobi County. Member has not even spoken, Honorable Passaris. What is the point of order about? Because no one has spoken yet. Proceed, Honorable Passaris. No one has spoken yet. You can't have a point of order over nothing. Proceed.
Thank you,
Honorable Kibagendi, I was referring to a decision I'd already made, so it's not a new matter. Proceed, Honorable Passaris.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I'm standing here. Sorry for the distraction. Can you please stop shouting point of order? I want to contribute. Yeah, but I haven't even spoken. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the State of the Nation address by His Excellency President. Madam Speaker, I need some protection here because I keep speaking and he keeps saying point of order, so I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so I want to contribute to the motion.
Honorable Passaris, ignore him and address
Madam Speaker, I suffer from OCD, and the problem is he's right next to me, so he's really distracting me. Please, can you wait until I finish and then...
Don't address him, address the chair.
Through the chair. Okay, Madam Speaker.
You're losing your time.
Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to
to speak to the State of the Nation address by His Excellency President William Ruto. And I have to say that the first thing that caught my attention is the respect that the President gave to the august House by calling us distinguished members, democratically elected. And also, I have to take note of the fact that every time we have a function where the President is, he gives utmost respect to elected members, which I never saw in my last tenure in Parliament. So I have to commend him for that. That puts us in a relationship where we can actually respect each other and work together. The President talked many times, mentioned the word national values in his speech. And I think we need to really have the national values of our country defined, because that is something that once we understand what our national values are, then as citizens and leaders, we should be able to move forward. And our national values are enshrined in our Constitution, and they are also enshrined in our national anthem. But I think we have forgotten our national values, and the reason why I say that is because sometimes when I take a drive on the highway and I see the street lights that have been put by the various bodies that put street lights on our roads, and I see that the street lights with solar have all been stolen on the highway, I feel that somewhere along the line we have no respect for the things that the investments that we make to get this country to become progressive. So I feel that we need to do a lot of work in defining our national values to the people. He talked about dignity and dreams, restoring the dignity of our citizens and the ability to dream. He talked about the challenges, and he did not shy away from telling us that we do as a nation have a lot of challenges, and we were in a deep hole and we need to get out of those challenges. And as a result of us working together, we'll be able to share the prosperity that was envisioned by our forefathers and the prosperity that he hopes to achieve for the nation of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, Madam Speaker, this week we have seen the return of David Cameron to as UK Foreign Secretary. He was a former Prime Minister, and he has actually been put into the government again. And when he was speaking in an interview today on CNN, he actually said that as a public servant, he is looking forward to coming back at such a time as this to be able to help steer the country and the world into the right direction. I feel sometimes as an opposition member that we should actually look as members of the opposition on how we can help and aid the government to be able to deliver to the people. We are all citizens of this country, and that we know that the country is in a place that really begs for attention in the positive way. So I really, as a member of the opposition, I really stand here and I say that the President is trying. He is working hard. He is traveling and trying to create bilateral relationships with other countries so that together we can be able to steer the